So next week we will get our first reveal of the new Jason for the start of the Jason universe in a Angry Orchard promoted short film. Now, I can't say that I'm 100% excited, but I'm also at the same time, I'm like, Jason's back. Like, Jason is back after almost 20 years of limbo and nothing. And fan films, albeit great fan films, I mean, Never Hike Alone is the GOAT. Like, seriously, Never Hike Alone, that whole era, that whole saga, chef's kiss. And I hope Cunningham employs Womp Stomp Films for a future project. I would really like that. Or Victor Miller. I would like that too. I would like either of them to collab on work with Womp Stomp to do a Jason film. But that's the thing, is that we've had so many, like, Jason is the second to last slasher off the bench. There, like, Ghostface came back, Chucky came back, Leatherface is coming back again. The Evil Dead are back. Pinhead came back. Pinhead and the Cenobites came back. Hell, the fucking fisherman from I Know What You Did Last Summer came back. Even Billy is coming back in a remake in Silent Night, Deadly Night. But there's still one slasher. Even Candyman came back. That's another one. But there's still one slasher left on the bench, and I think it's high time he comes back. And that is, of course, Freddy Krueger. Freddy is the last of the big six who hasn't gotten off the bench now. Now that Jason is officially, like, making his debut with Halloween Horror Nights and Sweet Revenge, and now a movie in the works, it's high time the man of your nightmares gets off the bench. He's the last of the big six who hasn't gotten a new movie. The other five being Chucky, Jason, Michael, Leatherface, and Pinhead. So Freddy is now all alone on the bench. Now, I understand there's a multitude of reasons why it's kind of hard to get Freddy off that bench. But yeah, I think it's like he's the last one. He is the last one, but I understand there's some hurdles there, and some of them are kind of big ones. Let's talk about let's actually get this off. Let's talk about the big ones first. So, first off, I think it's time we just let Robert Englund go. I love Robert. I love Robert Englund as an actor. Of course he's Freddy, and it's hard to see him as anyone else. But even he said, I'm over 70 years old. I'm pushing 80, and I can't do that makeup again. I can't be that physical actor anymore. And he's right. He can't. He literally cannot keep doing this, and there's no way. There's no way Robert can do... Do I want Robert in the project? Of course I do. Of course I would love Robert. You know, I'd love to have Robert Englund in the project in any way, shape, or form. I would absolutely adore that. But the problem with that is he's just gotten older, and if he did get in there, and then what if something happened with these sequels? What's going to happen then if he tragically passes? You know, and they're making another sequel. What's going to happen? So I think it is time to let Robert walk away. He did it one more time, and the only reason I watched it was because of him coming back as Freddy. Was in, what was it, the Goldbergs, right? He came back for that, and it was just nice to see him again. And that was it. That was a nice little. That was it. That was his little. That was his last gasp. I don't think he could do it again. Would I like to see him, like, show up? Maybe even get mentioned? Yeah. In some way. And I also think that Jason Blum and everyone else at Blumhouse, stop bothering him about it, okay? I got Helen Bernstein back to play, you know, Reagan's mom in Exorcist. Look how well that went. If you really want to get someone to get our interest in, bring back Heather Langenkamp. That'll get us talking. Not to say Robert wouldn't, but, like, Heather is equally as intrinsic. That's one you can still bring back. If you want to bring back anyone, Heather Langenkamp, bring her back as Nancy, yeah. Whether this be a requel or something else, yeah. Although it would really, if I'm being honest, it would really suck if we decanonized Dream Warriors. Kind of suck. But again, requels are the new thing, so I'd have to acquiesce to that. Dream Warriors is my favorite of the Nightmare movies, so. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. So, who could play Robert? Like, who could play Robert's role as Freddy? Let's dissect that right now. I think the big thing is that Jackie Earle Haley, as bad as that remake is, That remake is god awful. It was dog water. Jackie Earle Haley, when you look back, he's actually not bad. He just had a bad movie and a bad script, and God bless him, he tried his best. He really did. Jackie Earle Haley was like the heir apparent, and even Robert gave him his blessing, and said, yeah, Jackie was the right guy to take on Freddy's role. And he could have, you see little moments in that film, as bad as it is, where Jackie Earle Haley's like, you know what? If this was a better film, we'd all be talking about, yeah, Jackie Earle Haley is the heir apparent. Could we get Jackie again? I wouldn't mind that. I think he's he's gotten a little older, but not to like Robert's level. But I don't know. I think like people would be burned too much of that remake, so I don't know if Jackie Earle Haley could come back. Now, there are a few actors I would like to see play Freddy. First and foremost, David Desmelchin. This guy, you guys would know him as the Polka Dot Man from Suicide Squad. You'd also know him from Late Night with the Devil, and he's been tied to horror and comic book movies for a long time, and he's a massive fan of horror and comics. He's also written Count Crowley. He's written horror comics for Marvel, not for Marvel, but definitely for DC with Creature Commandos. He also wrote for Dark Horse. He's written for Image. Yeah, he's a straight up fan. And the reason why I say Desmelchin would be a good Freddy is because he's really good at playing a creep. He's really good at playing like a creepy character. And also, like, I feel like he would just dissolve into that role. I think that's a losing art in Hollywood. And maybe I'll make a whole video about this someday. But like, I feel like there's a losing art in movies in modern Hollywood where we depend more on the name recognition than the talent. Where, you know how we always make the joke, Tom Cruise just plays Tom Cruise in every movie? Well, it's starting to feel like every actor who's a big name actor just plays themselves. Scarlett Johansson plays Scarlett Johansson in every movie now. Robert Downey Jr. is just Robert Downey Jr. There are a few modern day actors that just kind of like still fall into their roles and you forget about it. Like perfect examples like Michael B. Jordan. I forgot it was Michael B. Jordan playing two characters and playing himself. So Michael B. Jordan, there's one, and Desmelchin is another. He's not a big name actor, and that's the other thing is that I feel like people be like, you need like a big name actor to play him, like Kevin Bacon. Can we just fucking stop with Kevin Bacon as Freddy? That joke's over. He's getting on in years. Desmelchin not only is like in his like mid to late 30s, he could probably still do this for like how many sequels we get. So David Desmelchin, he's also got like that build that Freddy needs, slender, tall, and just he can have a sinister voice to him. You can even mod it, and if you really want to, you could have maybe like a scene where Desmelchin's, like I'm saying hypothetically, Desmelchin's Freddy is just like, I got an upgrade. Like, and here's another thing. I think he's just kind of perfect for it. I think he's the right guy to play Freddy. As for other actors, I feel like Doug Jones would be an interesting one. I don't know if his voice would work. I think you would need to dub him. If you really wanted to have it, like, maybe Doug Jones plays Freddy, and you have Robert Englund voice him. Because that's happened before with when he played Abe in the first in the first Hellboy movie. What's his name? The guy who played Niles in Frasier. He did the dub over. So maybe you could do that with like Doug Jones as Freddy, but you have Robert Englund doing the speaking lines. I would actually not be opposed to that. But again, you run into like Jones is getting on in years too. And same with Andy Serkis was another one I always wanted because I think like his voice would just be downright menacing for Freddy. But yeah, if you got like, I'm not great at casting, so if you guys have any ideas, just comment below. But yeah, the other thing that we need, that is the next big hurdle, is the fact that the Wes Craven estate, is very hard to work with apparently. And Blumhouse and other studios have been trying hard. But I imagine if the Jason, the return of Jason does well enough, maybe the Craven estate will probably be like, all right, let's kind of like sit down and talk. Um, I think that would be the case. I really do feel like that could be the case. Is that if this movie does well enough, I think there is a strong possibility that we could get a Nightmare on Elm Street deal put out there for some studio. Would I want it to be Blumhouse? Probably not, because I'm very tired of, like, they've had some good films, but they've now been churning out quantity over quality. So I would have to trust it with, like, I would have to give it, like, I don't know, A24, I'm very on. As for directors, I don't know who you could get. Scott Derrickson is making... I will say this for Blumhouse. If they get Scott Derrickson to direct this movie, I would be on board. Because Scott Derrickson, like, I was not... like, you look at Black Phone 2, the trailer alone, and like, oh, he gets it. Like, he wants to clearly do Nightmare on Elm Street. So if it was Blumhouse, the only way I'd accept it is not, like, have Joe Schmo direct it, or have, like, you know, Danny McBride, right? Well, Danny McBride did do a good job on the first Halloween movie and Halloween Kills, but other than that, you just give it to Scott Derrickson right there. That's the only person I would really trust at who works at Blumhouse to really give me a good movie. The other one I think would be interesting is the Filippo brothers. I think they would kind of have a more sinister, more psychological feel to Freddy. The Filippo brothers, you know them on YouTube as Raka Raka, and also their films, their recent one, Bring Her Back, and Talk to Me. They're also doing the sequel, Talk to Me, which is coming out next year. I would trust them. I'd also say Lee Cronin would be a good one, and he's doing the Mummy movie for Blumhouse. But Lee Cronin, who did Evil Dead Burn, I think he also is really good at doing enclosed spaces and claustrophobia. I know someone's going to say Robert Eggers or Ari Aster. And I'm going to say, as much as I don't really care much for Aster, but Eggers is one of my favorite directors. Even, I don't think he would want it, because that's too modern for him. I think that's just, too much of a modern take of a character for him. So I wouldn't say Eggers, but Scott Derrickson, David Desmelchin, and you got me right there. If Blumhouse does that, I'm like, all right, you got me. But I would be fine with any movie studio. It all depends on the Wes Craven estate. And again, I think it really does depend on, you really have to depend on the other major factor, which is, again, I think this will be a major factor, is that the major thing you have to overcome is, well, that Sweet Revenge movie really needs to get some views and get some good credit to it. I know it's like just promotion for Angry Orchard, but that short film needs to come out balls swinging, or to at least hopefully make the Craven estate go, okay, we're listening. So that's the other thing. Now for Freddy's movie rights, I think they're still under, like, Miramax, so it'd be probably Warner Brothers who would take the reins on it, maybe with a collaboration of another movie studio. I wouldn't know, but it all depends on the Craven estate and a good script. And again, I think it depends on how well this Jason universe thing does to make people go, let's get Freddy back. But there is one more hurdle to talk about, and this one's going to be the most uncomfortable, because I thought about this when I was thinking about doing this video, and I was like, there's one more hurdle that needs to be overcome. And this might be one of the major factors as to why Freddy has not no one's really made a push for Freddy to come back. And that is that Freddy is a child murderer. That's always been uncomfortable about him. Is, Freddy is so fun, and like he's making quips and, slashing people up and telling jokes. Oh, he murdered children. And then in the remake they said, he was a pedophile. So between everything else going on in the world, between certain lists that have gone missing in the government, and among other things, I think that's another thing of why Hollywood is kind of worried about that, because, again, it would give the wrong image. Even calling him a child murderer would be ruffling feathers, but again, if you knew the character, kind of important, that's kind of intrinsically tied to his character, so you can't really retcon that. So it would have to be done. And I think that's why studios get cold feet, because they're worried about the backlash. which has been kind of an undercurring thing with ever since Nightmare on Elm Street was a thing, was that there was that undercurrent of this guy killed or molested children or did both. It's not okay. So that could be the other thing, and it always is something in the back of your head of like, oh yeah, this guy did some really fucked up shit. Even if you like Freddy, you got to accept that like that was part of his character. So that's the other hurdle they got to get over. Yeah. So, but having said all that, I think it's high time that Fred Krueger gets those claws back, whether it be Englund or a new actor. Yeah, it's time for it's time if Jason can make his big comeback. It's time for the last major slasher to get off the bench. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think do you guys think it's high time that Freddy come back? Who would you want to see star as Freddy, or do you want it to be Robert Englund? And who would you want to direct, and what studio would you want? Just comment below, let me know. Other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.